Let's talk about Bank of America's video interview for 2022. What's up guys, it's Mike from Job Ready English here with another Past the Interview video. Today we're going to be talking about Bank of America with the updated Past the Interview video for 2022. Don't forget, if you would like this research note and courses and a template to help you pass this video interview, check out the Past the Interview pack down in the description below, and also check out our free 28 most common questions handout. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about 5 fast facts about Bank of America, the interview format, the most common questions that we found, and also other questions that we found from publicly available sources which we think could also be likely to come up, and how to think about going about answering these questions. So let's jump into it with 5 fast facts about Bank of America. Fact number 1, Bank of America was founded in September 1998. Fact number 2, since 2007, Bank of America has invested over $200 billion in financing low carbon and sustainable business activities in its group. Fact number 3, Bank of America is listed as one of the 100 most sustainable companies in the world in 2022. Fact number 4, Bank of America has helped to invest over $70 million in affordable housing in America. And fact number 5, in 2021, Bank of America invested over $350 million in local communities in the states where they operate. So let's talk about what candidates reported about the interview format and the general process. Process for Bank of America seemed to take about a month. In our experience, generally the graduate process can be shorter or faster. It really depends on the time of the year, but we tend to say 2 to 3 months for most large companies' applications. You can expect a higher view video interview, which is going to have 6 questions, and you'll have 2 minutes to answer those questions. If you're thinking about writing scripts, you're going to be wanting to write maybe about 200 words per question. We tend to say that if you're talking really quickly, it's about 125 words per minute, but can be quite difficult for you to be understood. 100 words per minute as a general rule tends to be the sweet spot. You're then asked to come to an assessment centre where you're going to have to do competency-based interview, a short presentation, probably a group discussion, and a written exercise. So that's it for the Bank of America general process. We're going to dig into now the most common questions that we found from publicly available sources, which we feel are a pretty good shout for coming up in the real high view video interview. So let's get started with 6 questions that we thought are pretty likely to come up. Question number 1, why Bank of America? So when answering this question, you can use the 5 fast facts. You'll notice that the facts that we gave are really specific to Bank of America. We tend to use a number, something that's quantified, a date, something that is really demonstrating that we've done our research into the company. Researching about a company doesn't have to take very long. I tend to think 15 minutes and you're done. It could be on their About Us page, their annual report, quarterly report, something from General Business News, something from their media press pack. You're looking for about 4 to 5 facts, and hopefully they should be facts which resonate with you. So it's not like Bank of America earned this and they had this profit and and it sounds boring, sounds like a shopping list. Try and pick out things and offer an opinion. So, even through COVID, Bank of America recorded this profit, which is really impressive considering how difficult it's been to operate in this kind of economic climate. That's an example, but try to give something a bit more than the fact. If you give unique facts, a little bit of an opinion or a spin on it and how you relate to it, it's really gonna differentiate you from other candidates who are answering the same question. Question number 2, why this role? So this is a 2-part answer. The first minute you really want to spend looking at the job description and just thinking, what would I do day to day if I was to be a financial analyst, or if I was to work in the corporate banking team? Just explaining what you're going to do. One thing that companies really want to hear is that you actually understand what the job is that entails, because most people will just apply for as many jobs as possible. They won't really think about what they're applying to, particularly if you're desperate. That's quite a common thing. So that's the first minute. The second minute is, from the job description, try to pick out the skills that you feel are really relevant to this job and how you can demonstrate those. So it could be your work experience, your extracurricular activities, your volunteering. There could be hard skills, for example, with like computer programming, Excel, particular language, particular qualification that's needed. And that's a great way to answer that question. So you're really saying, I understand what it is that I've got to do. and I also know that these are the skills that I need, and I have experience and can demonstrate these skills. Question number 3, tell me about a time that you worked in a team. In any big corporate, this is really important. It's one of the most common competency questions to come up. So when we're talking about working in as part of a team, trying to construct our answer using STAR, which is situation, task, action, result, try to pick something that's from work if you can. If you don't have work experience, that's fine. I wouldn't worry about it, because obviously you can't use what you don't have. So use something from clubs or societies, from volunteering, and it can be from your academics. That's absolutely fine. There will be a situation where you've worked with other people, and really think about what's important when working as part of a team. Well, you know, communicating, negotiating, resolving conflict, helping, allocating resources, meeting a deadline. These are just a few of the things that a company is really going to be looking for. So not just I worked in a team, but these are the things that I did which made me a good team player and better able to work as part of a team. Question number 4, tell me about a conflict that you had at work. This is a really common question within banking and finance. Conflicts are commonplace in a high pressure environment, particularly working in a bank where there's a lot of like resetting back to day one. You know, there's processes that you have to go through. You're talking about large sums of money and clients that are under a deadline. What does resolving conflict really involve? Well, first of all, generally it tends to be with an angry client or a customer. It could be somebody that you worked with, just something where it got a little bit heated. There was probably a breakdown in communication. Maybe somebody gets frustrated and starts losing their patience, losing their temper. The important thing about resolving a conflict is, first of all, hearing that person in a way that is, you know, healthy and maintains boundaries. Not if somebody gets verbally or physically abusive, but hearing that person's concerns, addressing those concerns if possible. Doing that in a one-to-one environment tends to be good. It's never good or easy to try and resolve conflict within a group environment, but there's lots of different other factors at play. That person may then feel shame or guilt, and that might make the situation worse. And understanding what it is that the person actually needs. Generally underlying any kind of conflict, there will be an underlying need which may not be obvious. Maybe they're fearful, they're not being heard, you know, they just want to assert their presence on the situation, and then making sure that that resolution is in line with the goal that you and your team are working towards, whatever be the context of that situation. Question number 5, what makes you different from other candidates? I love this question. You don't really see this question quite a lot. I think, again, what is really going to make you different is the fact that you can demonstrate the skills that are necessary for the job. I always think sort of unique and interesting facts are good. Maybe a hobby that you have. For example, I like to pick out stuff like if you've done martial arts or if you do something creatively. Just kind of making sure that when you're talking about what makes you different, it should be something that's a little bit more tangible. A lot of times what I tend to hear candidates answer is they'll be like, oh, I'm really hardworking, or I persevere, or I'm really resilient. That could be true, but anybody could say that. But unless you provide something that has some kind of proof, then I really don't know that you're different from anybody else. No offense, but again, it's the same thing if you met a stranger and they turn around to you and say, like, I'm a race car driver, then you're probably gonna say, well, what race car do you drive? Can you show me some photos? Do you have a video? It's gonna seem less and less believable without proof. It's exactly the same thing when you're trying to differentiate yourself from other candidates. It could be something to do with your grades, could be something to do with the work experience that you've already have, but try to provide proof and provide your experience rather than just your opinion. Question number 6, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Now, to answer this in 2 minutes, and we've covered this in other past interview videos, you really want to choose one strength and one weakness. A lot of you will kind of be saying, well, what strength should I pick? Well, it should just be a strength that's important to the job and that you feel that you can clearly demonstrate. A lot of times that's probably something to do with analysis, numeracy, or interpersonal skills tend to be quite good for banks, professional services, and financial services in general. The way that you want to demonstrate this is provide an example. So again, don't just say I'm really good with people. It's like, I'm good with people because I'm the president of 2 societies. I have a job 20 hours a week where I work with people and have to serve them every day at Starbucks, and also I do this and this. So again, providing proof is really important. When you're talking about a weakness, this is a question that a lot of people really struggle with. Number 1, because they don't know which weakness to pick. I would say pick something that's realistic and that's honest, but that's not kind of potentially damaging in the sense that, you know, if you have wild extremes of behavior, you know, I drink too much, I can never wake up in the morning. But I think that's generally common sense. For a lot of people, particularly younger candidates that I deal with, it might just be, perfectionism, a lack of organisation, difficulty to multitask, time management skills, those types of things. And the way that you want to frame your answer to this question is like, look, I have this weakness and something happened which revealed this weakness to me, but then I learned and I did these things and now I'm better at that now. So it shouldn't really be a weakness, it should be a teachable moment, a lesson that you've learned over time to turn that weakness into a strength or that defect into an asset. So we picked out 5 other questions that we came across which we thought may or may not come up whenever we do our research. It's all on publicly available sources, and we tend to pick out the most common questions because they come up quite a lot. And then there are other questions which might appear here, there and everywhere, but generally appear more than once, so we feel that they're worth covering in this video. Question number 1, tell me about a time that you had to make an adjustment. I like this question, it's a little bit weird. So an adjustment is basically where you had to change your plans, where you had to be flexible. A lot of times when you're dealing in a high pressure environment or an environment where your decision can change based upon real-time information, the important thing is make an adjustment is to appraise the situation, appraise your resources, take time to digest that information and then to make the best decision possible. And sometimes just to ask for help. For example, this morning I had a decision to make about something that we're doing in our business and I wasn't quite sure, so I find a couple of my friends who are business owners and I asked their opinion and asked them to share their experience. So sometimes the best way of making an adjustment is basically to say, oh, hey Steve, I know that you've had an experience playing baseball. Can you tell me what your experience is like? And that's something that often gets missed, particularly by younger candidates. They'll use Google, which is fine, but also we can just find people who've had an experience like that and learn from them. Question number 2, why would you pick working with us over our competitors? Banking is incredibly competitive and increasingly competitive with technology firms, venture cap firms, private equity. I think it's important to really have a strong why this company and to understand it could be their corporate social responsibility, it could be their history, it could be new projects or technology that they're working with. This is a great question, but I think if you research the company well, then it's quite easy to answer this question because you can almost recycle your answer for why this company and say, well, it's specifically because Bank of America is doing these things, or I get the opportunity to work on these projects or with this technology. Question number 3, how did you plan your time when you had multiple projects or deadlines? Organisation is absolutely critical, particularly when you have lots of deadlines. I know that, for example, that's something that I struggle with, which is why I tend to use something like this, like a weekly planner. I find that really useful. But I have to admit that I've used loads of things over the past, from David Allen's Getting Things Done to a 5-minute journal, a bullet journal, or just whatever works for me at the time. I think just being able, there's no right answer to this, just as long as you can demonstrate your system, and your system is not, oh, just remember it, because you won't, unless you have an eidetic memory, and even then you're really just placing more strain on yourself than you need to. What you want to think about is, well, how would I organise it? So I tend to use a calendar, I ask people for help, I prioritise, and I have like a rolling list of things that need to get done. And also I have a bit of a commitment to myself that I will film, for example, today I will film 5 videos. So until I'm done with that, I can't really go on and do anything else because I've made a commitment to do that. And a lot of times getting work done for me is just committing to do something and then not being too worried about the time. And something that I think doesn't get talked about enough is being able to safeguard and manage your time, in the sense that, when more things come in, if I already find myself at maximum capacity, I find it quite easy just to say no and say, look, I'm sorry, I don't have the time to do that, or I don't have the time to do that well. Tends to be a common response for me, like I'm sure you can go and ask somebody else. Question number 4, tell us about yourself. So this is your personal introduction. We've already made an in-depth video about this, so if you type in tell me about yourself in Job Ready English, you'll find the video and also the worksheet, which is super helpful, broken down and beautifully designed. So you're really looking in 2 minutes to say, what are you doing? What have you done? What would you like to do? Work experience, clubs and societies, and then skills and interests. Those are the 6 things that you're really looking to cover. And question 6, what is your proudest achievement? I tend to like proudest achievements that actually emotionally resonate with you. I think trying to say what you think your audience wants to hear is never really a good look. I think it's something that a lot of candidates try to do and it ends up sounding pretty lame. Some of the best achievements that I've heard have actually been quite personal and not work related. I think this is a great opportunity to showcase yourself personally, are the things that are really important, and emotionally resonate with you. So I would encourage you to be honest and search within yourself for that thing that really makes you go, wow, I was more than I could have been that day, or more than I could have imagined. Guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I just realized I completely forgot to ask you to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and drop us down a comment below to let us know what video you'd like next. If you want this research note plus some handy courses and template to pass the Bank of America interview, you can check that out in the link in the description below. Wish you the best of luck with your interview, and I'll see you next time. Bye.